Is with us this morning, Representative Jim Struzzi of the 62nd Legislative District, and settled into the job now, humming along in Harrisburg, and coming back here and telling us all about it. You had a town hall meeting the other day, didn't you, in Armagh?
Yes, we did. Good morning, Todd, and thanks for having me on. Yeah, we had our first town hall meeting, which is something that I want to continue to do around the 62nd District in Armagh at the Armagh Volunteer Fire Company. It was a great event. We probably had around 50 people turn out. We spoke for about 2 hours on any issue, any subject that the residents of Armagh and those areas wanted to talk about. We covered everything from property taxes to the opioid crisis to job creation, immigration, you name it. I think we talked about it that evening.
One of the interesting things about these town hall meetings, and I was at several of them with Representative Reed, listening to the folks and how he interacted with them, and I'm sure you saw this as well. There are big issues, such as those that you just mentioned, but for anybody at any of these town hall meetings, it's a chance for what we might consider to be micro issues that only affect them, but they're just as important, aren't they?
Well, they're absolutely important, and that's why it's important for me to be out there doing town hall meetings, to listen to the constituents, to hear their concerns, because, I'm often occupied with the high-level things in Harrisburg, but there could be issues that we don't even realize that people are struggling with, and that's why we make ourselves available to them. And the message, since I took office, Todd, has been we're there to help. So reach out to our office, reach out to our staff, reach out to me, find us on Facebook, and get involved with what we're doing. We're here to help. So a lot of people had issues that we were going to follow up with them on from the town hall meeting, some things that we hadn't thought of, things we weren't aware of. So it's very important that we do those town hall meetings to reach people. We have a town hall meeting coming up in Indiana. It's going to be at St. Andrews Village on April 24th. That's going to be at 6 p.m. so people can register for that. We'll be sending out flyers. But again, our next town hall meeting is at St. Andrews Village on April 24th. We'd like people to register for that so we know how many people are coming. We do have some refreshments, and we do name tags for people and things like that. But again, we're going to be doing one there, and then we're going to be doing them throughout the district over the next 2 years.
All right. What were some of the really big issues that people were interested in Armagh the other day?
Well, I think it's the same issues that a lot of people are interested in around the 62nd District and really across Western PA and really the entire Commonwealth. One of the big issues is the fee that the governor has proposed for the state police services in municipalities that don't have their own police departments. I can tell you that I'm opposed to that. I can tell you that most of my Republican colleagues are opposed to that. We don't think that it's fair to put that fee on municipalities who really can't afford it. I've received several letters from some of the municipal governments here in Indiana County, and we're going to fight to not allow that to happen. The other big issue that we're dealing with right now across the Commonwealth, again, is the proposed increase by the governor of the minimum wage to $12 an hour and ultimately $15 an hour. I have not heard one person who thinks that's a good idea here in the 62nd District, from business owners to I was reading to the children at Indie Kids earlier this week, and their director even said, if you raise the minimum wage to $12 an hour, we're going to lose half of our staff, because those are students who are gaining from that experience, and they simply cannot afford to pay everyone $12 an hour just like that. Small businesses would struggle with the same, who's going to pay for that? Yeah. It has to come from somewhere, and a mandate like that would simply put a lot of businesses out of business, put daycare out of business, preschools out of business, and ultimately that would be passed on to the consumers, through higher costs, higher fees for products and services, because somebody has to pay for that. I'm not arguing that we shouldn't have fair wages for everyone, but to bump it up from 12 into 15 just like that, and the other side of that is these are, as I said, they're students who are having an opportunity, and oftentimes the minimum wage is meant to be a starting wage for people to get their foot in the door, to start a career and advance. It's not meant to be a family sustaining wage. So that's another big issue that's come up. And then of course a lot of people were concerned with the gun registry bill that's been proposed. I don't think that'll ever see the light of day on the House floor myself. It's simply too intrusive in people's lives. I think it's unconstitutional. If you're familiar with it, it would require a $10 fee to register any firearm that you own annually, and that's simply unconstitutional in my opinion. And I don't think that one will ever see the light of day on the House floor. Not if I have anything to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Circle back to the minimum wage argument, and if you were to raise the minimum wage, that would surpass what is not a minimum wage right now that is being paid to other employees, and even for those who are making a pretty fair amount above the current minimum wage, they would expect to get a similar bump in their pay.
Well, it absolutely would.
People are brought up.
Yeah, I mean, if you've worked for a company for several years and you've earned your way to $12 an hour, and then all of a sudden someone comes in starting at that, then rightly so, you would feel that you should have a substantial increase. So again, that's just going to compound itself and put more burden on our employers. It's going to take away jobs. That's what's going to happen, and it's going to hurt the economy. I know there are people out there struggling, but there are jobs. We know there are jobs. That's why we were having the job fair today with more than 80 employers looking for employees. There are good, sustaining jobs out there that are paying well above minimum wage already. So I don't see why, if someone is ambitious and has some basic skills, they can't go out and find a good paying job right now, even without skills. And companies are willing to train because the workforce needs are in such demand right now.
State Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is going to bring his marijuana listening tour to Indiana County on April 14th. That's a Sunday at the KCAC. He is an advocate of recreational marijuana, and others are. And generally it's seen as a revenue tool for Pennsylvania. People looking for money wherever they can find it, and that seems to be one that they're zeroing in on.
Well, yes.
Your feelings on recreational marijuana?
I mean, that's the mindset that they have, Todd. But and from the people I've spoken with, there are so many unintended consequences with legalizing recreational marijuana. I agree. 100% medical marijuana is helping a lot of people right now. But recreational marijuana, when you talk to law enforcement, they're looking at what could happen as far as people. Now they have to deal with drinking and driving. You could be smoking and driving. I asked that question when we were doing a hearing last week on adolescent drug addiction. That's a big problem that a lot of people don't realize. And I said, what happens if we legalize recreational marijuana? And their eyes, I thought, were going to roll back in their heads, because it poses so many different challenges for the state, and the potency level of marijuana right now, because it's been legalized in other states. They've, perfected the growing techniques. So the potency level, 10, 20 years ago was maybe in the teens, and now it's up around, 60% potent, which makes it, much more dangerous for people to use. So, I have a lot of concerns with that. I'll be interested to hear what people have to say at that event. It's April 14th, I believe, and I'll be there to listen. If the people who came out to my town hall in Armagh are any gauge, it's going to be an interesting evening.
Okay. One of the interesting things, I had somebody in here a while back talking about the fact that, there's no breathalyzer test like for alcohol that police could use for a stop for a marijuana under the influence. Mm-hmm. That's one hurdle that they would have to overcome. The second thing is, all you need to do is look at Indiana County's court schedule when it's DUI criminal call.
Yes.
There are 10 per listing, per page, and there's usually 6 or 7 pages. So DUI criminal call right now, once a month you're getting 70 or so DUIs that are being run through the court system. That's a lot.
It is, and to make access to a drug more readily available, I think there's a danger inherent in that. So I think we have to be very careful with this decision. I don't think it's a good idea. I really don't. I think there's just too many unintended consequences. I think there's too many lurking dangers. And right now we have so many issues with our young people, the work ethic and all the things that we've been talking about related to workforce. And, it's a known fact that, marijuana makes you lethargic. It's an ambition killer. And we don't want to see that happen in our society.
Well, that's an interesting thing, too, when you're talking about here's a career fair today and people are having trouble because they can't pass the drug test.
Right.
Getting people into their jobs. That's a whole different dynamic
absolutely
to that situation. Okay, so let's head down the road to Harrisburg. What's on the upcoming schedule?
Well, I'm working on a number of bills myself to deal with the drug addiction crisis. I have 4 bills in the works actually right now that we're going to be rolling out. They actually some of them are out for co-sponsorship right now, but that's an issue that's close to my heart, and I'm on the Human Services Committee. So I've been working through a lot of different subject matters with some of the research analysts in Harrisburg. So we're working on several bills. One that will help protect our emergency service providers by legalizing the fentanyl test strips, so that whenever they go into a situation, they can recognize that there's fentanyl there, which is very, very deadly and dangerous. The other one would be to regulate pain clinics that administer pain medications, because those are not currently regulated right now. And then one to take a full comprehensive look at what we're doing across Pennsylvania related to addiction. And then a series of other bills that are going to be kind of co-bills to at least enhance our capabilities to handle treatment and things like that. From the overall standpoint, we pushed a couple of bills through a few weeks ago that will help with workforce development, make more opportunities available for young people, more more access to trade professions, more education related to trade professions. Those are some of the big things we're working on. And of course, with me being on appropriations, we're starting to work through the budget process right now, which is very interesting.
Interesting. That's an interesting word that you choose.
Yes.
That is a complicated process, isn't it?
Well, it is, Todd, and for me, being somewhat new, it's frustrating at times to see how frivolously some people want to spend taxpayer money. My mindset is, if we have extra money, let's give it back to the people. You don't have to necessarily spend everything you have, and the governor continues to propose budgets that spend more than we expect to bring in. So we have to tighten that belt. We have to make sure that what we're allocating for the various departments is being used wisely, is being used to benefit the taxpayers, and not just throwing money out there and seeing what happens. So I think it's going to be a real interesting process for me to go through. But I can tell you that I'm paying close attention to make sure that the needs of Indiana County are included in that budget, and that we're wisely using taxpayer money.
Well, there are all kinds of issues out there. Of course, we're getting toward the start of the roadway construction season. I'm sure you're in on discussions that have to do with infrastructure and all of that. And with the career fair today and Urban coming in, do you have any, since you were so involved in the process of bringing Urban here, do you have any inside knowledge of the types of things, the jobs and things that they're going to have here in Indiana County?
I don't right now. I've not seen a list of the job descriptions. I'm assuming that they'll have something like that today at the job fair.
Be there.
Right. So I encourage people to come out. Again, that's at the Kowalczyk Complex. I believe the doors open. Well, what the interesting thing is, we're tying the students in this morning. The Indiana school districts, Indiana County school districts are coming in, and we're making it sort of an educational career fair in the morning, and then at 12:30 the doors open for veterans. Then at 1 p.m. for the general public. So it's an opportunity for various generations to be interacting with our businesses here in Indiana County. And there's quite an eclectic list of businesses this year. As I said, more than 80 are participating. There's something for everyone at the job fair, and it's free. So come on out and find yourself a good career.
There you go. There you go. For folks who want to go to that 24th, the meeting on the 24th, give the office number, please.
Yes, our office number, 724-465-0220, 724-465-0220. You can go to my website, which is simply repstruzzi.com. I'd encourage people to sign up for our weekly email. We encapsulate everything that's happened that week in Harrisburg, plus everything that's happening in the district. So if you want to know what bills are moving or what bills are proposed, sign up for my weekly email. It goes out on Fridays. You can also follow us on Facebook, but all of our events and everything are on there. And stop into the office at 550 Philadelphia Street or on Market Street in Blairsville.
There you go. And again, that's at St. Andrews Village on the 24th.
St. Andrews Village, the town hall meeting for Indiana. It starts at 6 p.m.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
Appreciate it. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM. Fox News coming up next at the top of the hour. We're going to follow that with news from our WCCS newsroom with Josh Widdison. And then Jack Benedict comes by to take a look at sports with us.